spotlight on the power of the city's parks, recreation,
This is John May, General Manager of Petrale Roofing, up on another customer's roof doing a free 21-point inspection. If you'd like us to take a look at your roof, give us a call today, 719-375-8773. We'd be happy to take a look and see the condition of your roof. Petrale Roofing, we're a Diamond certified TAMCO installer, which means we can offer a industry-leading 25-year workmanship warranty to give you peace of mind in the storm. Call Petrale Roofing, 719-375-8773. Schedule your free inspection today.
Well, I told you I would be back, and unfortunately, I was right. We have severe thunderstorm warnings to talk about this time around, and they are focused around the Pikes Peak region. So I want to take a look at radar right now. You can see that cluster that has really developed over about the last hour and a half, sliding across the I-25 corridor and really focusing its attention along Highway 24 in northeastern El Paso County. I do have two warnings that I want to start off with. We have one that is in the far southeastern corner of the county that it will go until 3:30, and another warning that goes until 3:45 this evening. So these are storms that are continuing to slide to the east. They're moving now a little faster than they were when we did our last live, pushing at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. The greatest threats with these storms are going to be about 60-mile-per-hour winds, and there is the potential now for about 1 inch in diameter hail. So let's take a closer look at these storms. We'll start with a storm that is in the south or the northeastern corner of the state, sliding right beneath Highway 24, impacting Rama Highway as well as Oil Well Road. It's heading just to the south of where Simla is. So this is an area where you see that pink and the whites. That's likely where we're seeing some of the largest hail. Here, I'll stop this so we can take a little bit of an even closer look to see where that hail core is really focusing its attention. And it's right along Alford Road, just to the east of Blassingame Road, I'm thinking that is, to the north of Middlebrook. So this is an area where, again, we have the potential for about 1 inch in diameter hail as this storm continues sliding off toward the east. And as it does so, it is also producing some pretty heavy rain. The storms that we have out there this evening will be producing bursts of heavy rain. So if you find yourself beneath one of those heavier cells, don't be surprised if there's some ponding on the roads. If you don't have to go out in this area right now, of course, that is the best bet. That warning again for northeastern El Paso County, that will continue until 3:30. And then we have another warning that I want to tell you about that is just to the north of Highway 24, impacting areas north of Peyton and north of Calhan. Notice though that if we put this into motion for you, it is going to be sliding just to the north of Calhan. So Calhan, you're likely seeing it off in the distance. You may get clipped by the southern flank of this storm as it moves overhead. Likely the rain is going to pick up in your area. And it's over Warriors Path Drive right now that you can kind of see that really highlighted area. Again, that's likely where we are seeing the hail as of right now. So you can see kind of right there along that area of white. 1 inch in diameter hail is possible with that cell. And that storm, again, is going to be producing that severe thunderstorm warning until 3:45 this afternoon. I'll zoom out because just because these are the only warned storms that we have, those are not the only cells that we are tracking. We had a pretty decent cluster of storms that pushed over the Security Fountain area not too long ago. It is now impacting areas from Ellicott toward Rush. Truckton also impacted is about to get in on some of that heavier rain. Between Falcon and Peyton along Highway 24, that's going to be another really good rain-producing storm, maybe some pea-size hail associated with that one too, impacting Woodman Hills, moving from Meridian Ranch eastward. So you're under it right now, but the good news is as soon as that kind of passes by, you'll get a bit of a reprieve. Cathedral Pines getting in on some of that lighter rain, that area of yellow, but it's those two cells in the northeastern corner of the county where we really got the right setup for those to intensify as they rolled off the hills. They developed over our local mountains first and then continued to slide off toward the east. And it is going to be over the plains where we have the best setup to see further intensification of these storms. So that is something that we are going to have to keep a very close eye on around Pueblo. We are tracking just a few light scattered showers right now. Penrose likely getting just a little bit of rain. We'll get a little bit of rain to pass along the I-25 corridor south of Pueblo. We have been tracking a few thunderstorms popping up along southern I-25 for the majority of the late morning and into the early afternoon. Storms in this area seem to kind of pop up, show signs of being somewhat impressive, but then as they rolled over I-25, they lost their energy pretty quickly. As of right now, really the only areas where we are tracking those really intense storms is again up around the Pikes Peak region. So we'll zoom into that area once again. If you're just tuning in with us, we do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that we are keeping an eye on this afternoon, both of which are in northeastern El Paso County. So they do not include Colorado Springs or Monument. And the good news is they are not impacting the burn scar area, prompting fire or flash flood warnings as of right now. We do have that flash flood watch still in effect for areas around the Aspen Acres fire. I will talk about that in just a second, but let's go ahead and zoom back into these severe storms that we have in the northeastern corner of El Paso County once again. So we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings to tell you about. One that is going to be just to the south of Simla. It's in the northeastern corner. You can see that yellow box on your screen. That warning again is going to be in effect for about the next 11 minutes or so. I anticipate, though, that that warning will probably be extended as this storm system pushes into Elbert County. As it does so, it's sliding right underneath or below to the south of Highway 24. As it is doing so, it is continuing to bring us some pretty heavy rain. 60-mile-per-hour gusts and quarter-size hail are going to be the primary threats with that storm. So if we zoom in a little bit, you can see that bright white and pink area. That's likely the area where we're tracking some of the best potential of getting that quarter-size hail. Obviously, hail damage to your car is something that we would expect to see with hail of this size. So if this storm is nearing your area, parking your car inside is definitely something you want to be doing. This storm, again, is moving off toward the east, pushing at about 20 miles per hour. So it's not a super fast mover, but they're definitely picking up a little bit of speed. I checked in with you guys about maybe 30, 45 minutes ago, and these storms were mostly stationary. So they are starting to gain a little momentum as they move eastward across El Paso County. So that is the one storm that we are continuing to keep an eye on. Again, in the northeastern corner of El Paso County, that warning still in effect until 3:30. We have another cell that is also prompting another warning that I want to talk to you about. And that is for also northeastern El Paso County, but more centrally located. It's just to the north of Highway 24, kind of between Peyton and Callahan. So if you're in either of those locations, looking off toward your north, you're likely seeing that. That severe thunderstorm warning is still in effect until 3:45. That storm looks like, let's see, if I put this, if we kind of take it back a little bit, you'll notice that it's starting to lose just a little bit of its oomph, if you will. So take a look at this storm as it's over about the past, let's see, 10, 15 minutes. You'll notice that area of bright white has actually kind of moved more off toward the north of the El Paso County line. So that is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, starting to lose a little bit of its intensity, still producing, of course, a lot of heavy rain as it moves to the east. That storm also pushing to the east, maybe at about more of a 10 to 15 mile per hour pace. As it does so, it is still keeping the threat of wind alive. The storms that we have out there through the day today are going to be big wind producers. For the most part, the more general storms are likely only going to be producing maybe 45, 50 mile per hour gusts. It's these stronger cells that we are more concerned about, 60 to even 70 mile per hour gusts, especially as these storms push toward the east into an area more favorable for intensification. So let's talk about kind of what you can expect here as we head through the remainder of the evening. I'll put this loop into motion again just for you to get a grasp of what we've been talking about here over the last 10, 15 minutes or so. These storms moving off to the east, but you can see once they're in motion, they're really not moving all that quickly. We do have those 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in northeastern El Paso County, not impacting Colorado Springs, not impacting the burn scar as of right now. Southern I-25 was an area that we were, still are, a little concerned about seeing some severe activity this afternoon as well. But the focus has really been up around the Palmer Divide and along the Pikes Peak region, kind of really hitting areas along Highway 24 and Highway 94 pretty hard. So if you are trying to travel to or from an area using those routes, wait until these storms move through. Once they are out of here, for the most part, I expect the strongest storms at least to be done for the night. So that's the good news. Should see some clearing along I-25. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Something else that we are increasingly concerned about, considering how hot the Aspen Acres fire burned, is the potential for flash flood conditions. When rain moves over an area where we had a really hot fire, the soil doesn't absorb the water. It doesn't make a lot of sense because you think that, sure, we want lots of water in the fire, and we do. That helps extinguish the fire, but the byproduct of that is, unfortunately, the fire burned so hot that all of the wax, all of the resin inside the trees and the plants, that solidifies on the ground, kind of making this hard surface or this crust that water, unfortunately, just cannot penetrate. It cannot soak into for a pretty long time, months to years, in fact, before those soils become more receptive to soaking in that rain. So we do have a flash flood watch. That's for that area of green. The area of red is the actual perimeter of the Aspen Acres fire. So obviously that watch is directly associated with the Aspen Acres fire. That will be in effect until 8 o'clock this evening. And that is because there's the potential for debris flow and ash flow and even moderate rainfall. So we don't even need to get a severe thunderstorm to move over the area to be concerned about flash floods. Anybody who's lived in the area for quite some time, you'll remember we dealt a lot with this, with the Waldo Canyon fire. And so that's something that we're pretty familiar with after these fires kind of roll through. We have gotten a little bit of rain that has moved over the burn scar. Again, that's that area of red on your screen. But the good news is I haven't had any reports or any warnings of flash flooding conditions. If that changes, you know that we will let you know all about that right here on Peaks to Plains. As far as these storms are concerned for the remainder of the afternoon and into this evening, as they continue pushing off toward the east, they are going to move into an area that is a little bit more conducive for not only intensification, but also expansion of storms. So you'll notice that we were able to fire off a few storms, even just in this category 1 area where we just have a very marginal chance for storms. Obviously, we had the right ingredients to get those storms to fire and to be bringing a big punch to the northeastern corner of the state. If we get storms to develop and push into this area of red, that's where we have the most moisture to work with. We have the most instability. We've got the lift in place. We've got all of the ingredients for these storms to become even stronger. So that's the area where we're most likely to see even more in the way of severe weather. So that is something that we will keep a very close eye on here over the next probably 6-7 hours. We're going to keep these storms really in place as we take you through the evening. I'm going to slow this down just a little bit. If I can. Well, let's see if it'll let me do it. Well, it didn't. Let's see. Nope, it's not going to let me do it. But you could kind of see by the storm progression that as these storms push to the east, we're going to kind of get this large cluster of storms that will continue pushing toward the Colorado-Kansas state line. As that happens, we are going to see the potential for these storms to move into that area that I just talked about with the ingredients in place for intensification. One of those ingredients that we keep an eye on is, of course, dew points, which is a measure of how much moisture we have in the atmosphere. And it's in this area where you see those numbers in the mid to upper 50s. In Colorado, this is something that if any of you have been around for a while, you remember Marty vmix.at. That's one of the first things he ever taught me when I started working with him was 50 degree dew points are like this magic number in Colorado. When we see those, it's a really good indicator that we've got a really sweet setup for some strong storms. Now notice along the I-25 corridor, we're tracking 30s and 40 degree dew points. So a little bit drier along the I-25 corridor. That's why the storms kind of developed over the I-25 corridor, and it wasn't until they moved into this richer moisture until they started gaining a little bit of intensity. So taking a look at your thunderstorm strength, the areas where we have really a good setup for intensification and development of these storms, it's going to be focused across the far eastern plains. So think about Burlington, Cheyenne Wells, the lower Arkansas River Valley. I think a lot of focus is going to be spent on Benton, Prowers, and even Baca County as we take you into the remainder of the afternoon and into this evening, as that is again going to be the area where we really have a great setup for some of this storm intensification that we were talking about. With the storms that develop through the remainder of the day and into tonight, there is the chance that we'll end up with some hail. And you'll notice that as I was talking about really these southeastern corner states through about 5 o'clock, that's where we're going to have the best chance of getting some significant hail. Think maybe 1 to 1.5 inches. But the good news is that these storms really look like wind. Wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour will likely be the primary threats as we take you into the afternoon and evening. Not really looking so much at the potential for tornadoes as we are just worried about wind gusts. So damaging wind gusts will be something that we'll be talking a lot about as these storms continue to push through the area. So that will be what we'll really keep our focus on. So let me reset this computer really quick. I'll take you back to those storms and we'll check for any updates before I maybe take a little bit of a break. Looks like, let's see. This storm, let me show you guys what I'm looking at. Whoops, give it a second. There we go. So most of the storm activity has rolled through the Pikes Peak region. You probably heard quite a bit of thunder and lightning from Monument south toward Colorado Springs. Security found you had a decent storm that rolled through not too long ago. The storm's now focused in the northeastern corner of the county and eastern portions of El Paso County as well, north of Rush. That storm looks like it's really starting to rock and roll for us here. The severe thunderstorm warning, as we kind of expected, that was over, let's see, more north central El Paso County. It looks like that has been allowed to expire. You'll notice that storm over about the last 10-15 minutes, at least in El Paso County, has kind of lost a little bit of its hail core. It's moved off toward the north into Elbert County, but we are still watching this little cell that is passing south of Highway 24, just south of Rama and Simla. You're likely hearing that off in the distance. Some of the best potential for the hail is going to be right in this area of white and pink that is just north of Elford Road along Simla Highway. So that is something to keep in mind. This severe thunderstorm warning is going to remain in effect, I believe. Let's see. Oh, I guess that one has just been allowed to expire as well. So good news there. We'll take one more zoom out. I think the next storm that we're probably going to have to keep an eye on, that I wouldn't be surprised if I pop back on here for you, is going to be this cell that is just to the north of Ellicott, Yoder, and Rush. That storm kind of picking up a little bit of steam as it moves off to the east. I will put that into motion for you as well. And you can see that kind of has really intensified. Thankfully, it looks like the best chance for getting maybe some pea to even nickel size hail is just to the north of Highway 94. So we will keep an eye on that. No severe thunderstorm warning associated with that as of yet. But of course, as that changes, I will certainly let you know right here on Peaks to Plains. Thanks for sticking with me. This is my first time going live on this channel. So if it's a little bumpy, I apologize. I promise you that I will continue to work out the kinks. And of course, my main priority though is to keep you safe and ahead of all of these storms. And it does look like could potentially be a pretty active afternoon and evening. Looks like the storms will likely stick around a little bit longer today than they have for the past couple of days. So we may be talking about these strong to severe storms well into the evening. After the sun sets, though, the good news is we should start to see things quiet down quite nicely. So that's the nice part about Colorado. We kind of have these active afternoon and evenings, and then things really start to quiet down once we lose the energy from the sun. So that is something that we will keep an eye on. I will be watching it for you as things develop and more warnings pop up. I will bring them right here to you on Peaks to Plains.
I'm Catherine.
And I'm Dewey, here with another water-wise tip.
During summer, do you know why we water up to 3 days a week?
To make the best use of me.
Exactly. It builds deeper, stronger roots and makes your lawn more resilient.
Also,